Gotham's criminal underworld is on the verge of collapse. In the Penguin, alliances are breaking, betrayals are brewing, and secrets could cost lives. How long can Oz Cobb play both sides before it all comes crashing down? The tension is building, and one wrong move could mean the end. You think you know what's coming next? Trust me, you have no idea. Let's dive in. Welcome back, Gothamites. Today we're diving deep into episode 2 of The Penguin, titled Inside Man. The stakes have never been higher, and Oz Cobb, aka the Penguin, is waddling his way right through the middle of a brewing gang war between the Falcones and Maronis. Last week's explosive premiere left us on the edge of our seats, with blood spilled, alliances forged, and lies stacked higher than Gotham's skyscrapers. So, let's take a closer look at this new episode, shall we? Buckle up, because we're going to cover every twist, turn, and shadowy deal Oz Cobb is involved in. A Nightmare in Gotham, Sofia's haunting dream, and the aftermath of episode 1. The episode opens with an absolute gut punch of a scene. Sofia Falcone is back in Arkham, or so it seems. We're thrown right into this haunting dream sequence, where Sofia sees her brother, Alberto, alive and visiting her. But something's off. It's not just the creepy Arkham atmosphere, or the fact that Sofia clearly hasn't processed her brother's death from episode 1. It's the gruesome detail that Alberto's pinky finger is missing. Now, if you're a longtime fan of Gotham's criminal lore, you know that missing body parts are never a good sign. But before we can dig into what that could mean, bam, Alberto is shot dead right in front of her. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, Sofia wakes up. It was all a nightmare. But here's where it gets really interesting. She's not in Arkham anymore as we first thought. This was all in her head, and that tells us a lot about where Sofia is mentally. Despite being out of Arkham, the trauma, the paranoia, the guilt, it's all still there, bubbling under the surface. Her meeting with Dr. Julian Rush, played brilliantly by Theo Rossi, further highlights this tension. Even in therapy, Sofia can't shake the feeling that she's not safe. And let's be real, in Gotham, she's not wrong. Penguin's master plan. Oz meets the Maronis in Blackgate Prison. While Sofia is dealing with her inner demons, Oz Cobb is out here making deals with the literal devils of Gotham. Our beloved Penguin doesn't waste any time this episode. He's sitting down with Salvatore Maroni at Blackgate Prison, negotiating like a true underworld mastermind. What's wild about this scene is just how casual Oz is about all the chaos he's causing. He strolls in, almost gloating about how Alberto's murder is putting the Maroni name back on the map. But here's the thing, Sal Maroni is no fool. He sees through Oz's games, accusing him of setting up the whole mess. It's a classic mafia standoff, where both men are testing each other's loyalty. And let's not forget Nadia Maroni, played by the always brilliant Shohreh Aghdashloo. She's the real wild card here. While Sal is getting frustrated, it's Nadia who steps in with a cold, calculating move. She says, "Oz is a dog, but a dog can be made to be submissive." That line right there? Chills. Nadia isn't someone to be underestimated, and her influence on the Maroni family dynamics is going to be fascinating to watch. But back to Oz. He's playing this dangerous game where he's pitting the Falcones and Maronis against each other, and you can't help but wonder, how long can he keep this up before it all blows up in his face? And trust me, it's coming. The heist and Oz's near miss. Now let's talk action. One of the standout moments of this episode is the hijacking of the FEMA truck, which Oz orchestrates. Well, sort of. The plan was simple. Let the Maronis steal the Falcones' drop shipment, keep the chaos rolling, and stay in the background. But things never go as planned in Gotham, do they? Johnny Vitti forces Oz to ride in the actual truck, rather than the follow car, putting him directly in the line of fire. What follows is an incredibly tense scene where the Maronis' men ambush the truck, taking out everyone, while Oz narrowly escapes. Oz barely makes it out alive. But here's the brilliance of this scene. Even though it's a near-death experience for him, Oz still manages to keep control of the situation. He manipulates the outcome, making sure the Maronis get away with the drops and the Falcones are left humiliated. What I love about this moment is how it showcases Oz's ability to improvise under pressure. He's like a chess master, always thinking 3 steps ahead, even when the pieces are falling around him. Sofia's suspicion. The search for the mole begins. Meanwhile, Sofia Falcone is hot on the trail of what she believes is a mole in the family. And she's not wrong. Oz is working both sides, but Sofia, ever sharp, senses that something isn't right. This episode really leans into her growing paranoia. She walks in on a heated argument between Oz and Viti about the stolen drops. While Viti is more concerned about the money and product, Sofia is laser-focused on the bigger picture. They've been humiliated. And in Gotham, humiliation is a dangerous thing. Sofia posits the theory that someone is feeding information to the Maronis, but Viti ridicules her. Luca Falcone, the new boss, dismisses her concerns as grief over Alberto's death, but he does agree to increase security. Here's the thing though. Sofia is right. There is a rat, and it's Oz. But watching her try to navigate the family dynamics, knowing that she's up against both her own relatives and Oz's scheming, adds a whole new layer of tension. It's like watching someone try to solve a puzzle, but the pieces are constantly moving. And just a quick reminder, if you're loving this deep dive into Gotham's criminal underworld, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Oz's balancing act, playing both sides without falling. Oz Cobb is walking a razor-thin line in this episode. We see him making deals with the Maronis, playing the Falcones, and then pretending to be the loyal lieutenant to Luca Falcone when he's back in the Falcones' territory. It's this balancing act that makes Penguin such a compelling character. He's always shifting his alliances, always manipulating people, and yet somehow, he manages to stay one step ahead. Now, this double dealing is what's setting the stage for what's to come, but you can feel the tension building. There's only so long that Oz can keep everyone in the dark. The more he shifts between the two families, the more suspicion he draws. At this point, it feels like every time he turns around, someone is watching. He's aware of Sofia's suspicions, but he's trying to push her off course by feeding her misinformation. He's also trying to keep Luca complacent by overcompensating in his loyalty. It's a dangerous game, and while Oz may be good at it, Gotham is an unforgiving city. And speaking of danger, let's not forget about the smaller players here, the foot soldiers, the hired guns. They might seem insignificant, but Gotham has a way of turning even the smallest mistake into a fatal one. Oz is surrounded by people who could betray him at any moment, whether for power, fear, or just pure survival. It's this constant threat of betrayal that adds another layer of anxiety to every interaction he has. Sofia's underworld detective work, closing in on Oz. Sofia, though grieving and paranoid, is no fool. Her suspicions are slowly starting to crystallize. She's beginning to connect the dots, piecing together the timeline of events since Alberto's death. Every move Oz has made is being scrutinized, and you can feel the walls closing in on him. She's interrogating her own people, watching their reactions closely, and tracking down leads with the sharpness of a detective. It's almost ironic. The crime boss has turned into the investigator, and Oz is her prime suspect. The show does a fantastic job of building tension here. Sofia's meetings with her underbosses are fraught with tension. Every word, every glance, feels loaded with suspicion. And it's not just Sofia who's getting closer to the truth. Her conversation with Dr. Rush earlier in the episode planted a seed. She's starting to consider that the real enemy might be closer than she thinks. But here's what's fascinating. As much as Sofia's suspicion grows, there's still an element of self-doubt. That dream sequence at the beginning of the episode wasn't just a random nightmare. It's a manifestation of her inner turmoil. She's haunted by her own mind, and that's what makes her such a complex character. She's driven by revenge, but she's also fighting her own paranoia. The question is, which one will win? The rise of the Maronis, Nadia's power move. And while all this is happening, we've got Nadia Maroni stepping up in a big way. If you thought she was going to sit back and let Salvatore handle things, think again. In one of the most pivotal moments of the episode, Nadia convenes a meeting with the Maroni captains, and it becomes clear she's the one pulling the strings now. Nadia's been waiting for her moment, and with Sal stuck in Blackgate, she sees an opportunity to seize control. There's a brilliance to how she maneuvers. She's not loud, she's not aggressive, but she's incredibly strategic. She plays the long game, and that makes her a real threat to both the Falcones and Oz. This episode shows us that the Maroni family isn't just going to be reactive anymore. They're planning something big, and Nadia's at the center of it. It's clear that she sees Oz as a pawn, useful but expendable. She's not afraid to take him out if he crosses her, and with the way things are going, that day may come sooner than Oz expects. Nadia's rise is one of the more surprising elements of the show, but it's also one of the most intriguing. Her power isn't just about brute force or numbers, it's about influence and manipulation. And that makes her a direct competitor to Oz, who's trying to do the same thing on a different scale. The final showdown. What's next for Oz and Gotham? So, where does this leave us? By the end of the episode, Oz has managed to survive, but just barely. He's still juggling his alliances, still playing both sides, but the cracks are starting to show. Sofia is hot on his trail, Nadia's gunning for more power, and the Maronis are getting more aggressive by the day. The question isn't whether Oz will fall, it's when and how badly. There's a sense that everything Oz has worked for is hanging by a thread. The heist may have gone off without a hitch, but it's clear that Gotham's underworld is a powder keg waiting to explode. And Oz? He's sitting right on top of it. The brilliant thing about the Penguin is that it keeps you guessing. You know that something's going to give, but you just don't know when. But that's what makes this show so addictive, right? Every episode builds on the tension, and every character has their own secrets and motives. As we move forward, I can't wait to see how Oz tries to keep his house of cards standing, because we all know, in Gotham, nothing stays stable for long. And there you have it, folks. Episode 2 of The Penguin was an absolute thrill ride, and things are only going to get more intense from here. Oz's plans are teetering on the edge of collapse, Sofia's suspicions are getting sharper, and the Maronis are rising faster than ever. Who will come out on top? Will Oz finally get what's coming to him, or will he manage to wriggle his way out of danger once again? You'll have to stick around to find out. As always, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and let me know in the comments what you think will happen next. Who do you think will betray Oz first? And do you think Sofia will discover the truth before it's too late? Let's talk all things the Penguin down below. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and remember, in Gotham, trust no one.